Good Saturday. I'm meteorologist Kara Thompson, and we're at midday right now, and we're still dealing with some snow in southwest and central Virginia. The thing to keep in mind is that we will continue to see those flakes falling in parts of our region, even as we head into your Saturday afternoon and evening. So, with that, the event's not done quite yet, but for some, you may start to notice not as much of that snowfall actually falling from the sky. But let's go ahead and kind of talk about some of the conditions we're seeing in parts of our region for this midday. I'm going to pull up some of our cameras that we're looking at this time. This is Thaxton Mountain, which if you look really closely closer to the trees, you may see some of those fine snowflakes falling right now. And that is really the description of the snow that we're seeing across our area. It's not big fat flakes that are falling down. It's more of these very fine snow crystals that are coming down from the sky. That's what's giving us that very powdery characteristic when it comes to the snow on the ground for this midday. Now, speaking of Thaxton Mountain, earlier this morning we really couldn't see much of what was below into Bedford County. We are starting to notice some improvements when it comes to visibility. For me, that signals that the snowfall is not as heavy as what it was earlier, even though it was still on the lighter side. Now, as we start to look from our Hunting Hills Family Dentistry view from the Mill Mountain Zoo, same thing can be said. We can still see some of those very fine flakes passing in front of the camera, but visibility has improved from overhead, so we're starting to get a little bit of a lull with some of that snowfall. Now, for the Buchanan camera, we're actually seeing a little bit of sunshine coming through. There is very much a gradient. It's very tight to where we're seeing that snow and when we're not seeing that snow. But Buchanan, I've noticed so far for this morning, it's been on the line. We've had some snow pass through for today, but there's times where we notice some blue sky and sunshine overhead like we're seeing right now. And speaking of which, Wintergreen Resort in Nelson County really hasn't seen that much in the way of natural snow. I don't think it's out of the question. We could see some light snow showers moving through. However, for the most part in Wintergreen, we had some sunshine earlier in the day, a little bit more cloud cover at this time. I'm going to go ahead. We had a little alert that popped up on our computer, but let's go ahead, take a quick look at our radar. And this is where we talk about more of those snowfall totals. Now, when we look at our radar, you can see where we're seeing the snow and where we're not seeing the snow. As we get closer to the I-64 corridor and heading towards the north, not really seeing all that much when it comes to snow, but Southside Virginia and the New River Valley definitely seeing more of that widespread snow at this time. I'm going to take weather full right now. Where you see those little snow icons, well, that's where we're getting some of those snow reports for today. And they really tell a story. As we start to look towards the Lynchburg area, where we're only looking at less than a half of an inch of snow. Going towards portions of Roanoke County, Catawba, 3 inches of snow was the last report that we received, and near Laymantown, about an inch of snowfall. So we are seeing some accumulating snowfall into portions of central Virginia as well as the Roanoke Valley, but as we start to move further south away from US 460, heading into Patrick County near the Critz area, about 5 inches of snow. Outside of Martinsville, 3 inches of snowfall. Near South Boston, I haven't seen that much in the way of moderate snow. Right now, less than an inch. That's the latest report that we have in. Near Ringgold, about 1.5 inches of snowfall. Moving towards Galax, 3.5 inches of snow. So definitely seeing more of those higher amounts as we get closer to the Virginia-North Carolina line. And that's exactly where we're looking at more of those impacts. Now, with those impacts and the snow coming down, the main thing I want to point out is the fact that temperatures are below freezing across much of our area. We've seen very little warming when it comes to road temperatures in southwest and central Virginia. They've been below the freezing mark, so any snow that's been falling, it hits those roadways and it actually sticks around. So that's going to be one of our main concerns for today. Snow-covered roads are possible as you head out and about. You definitely want to give yourself extra time to get to where you need to go safely. And that's the main reason that we are dealing with those winter weather alerts for today, continuing into Sunday morning. Winter weather advisory for central Virginia, as well as portions of the Roanoke Valley, Southside Virginia into the New River Valley. That's where we have the winter storm warning that is in effect as well. Now let's talk a little bit more about our weather setup for today. We've been tracking a coastal low that's currently off the coast of the Carolinas. Now, when it came to model runs earlier this week, it was really determining how much snow we were going to see based on the storm's track. track. Now, what we've been noticing is this storm's track, it's been going more so toward the south and east. So we're not going to be seeing as great of impacts here in southwest and central Virginia. We are not looking at a big winter weather storm. We will see some inches of snowfall that will lead to slippery driving conditions, but this is not going to be a big snowstorm event. Another thing we're still keeping our eyes out for today is actually drier air from the north. As we continue to head later into your Saturday and Sunday, we're going to have increasing northwesterly flow. Typically, that keeps Arctic air in place, but also it gives us those drier conditions. And because of that, the dry air may actually chip away at some of the moisture we're getting from that storm system off the coast. So that's why our snow totals not necessarily up to a foot in our region. We're just noticing that general trend of higher totals as we get closer to the Virginia-North Carolina line, heading further toward the north, definitely going to be on the lower side. For the greater Lynchburg area into Roanoke, continuing into the Allegheny Highlands, I have anywhere from a trace to 2 inches of snowfall. Locally, higher totals are possible, though, looking at those higher elevations. Now, generally, as we start to go south of US 460 towards Franklin, Pennsylvania, Halifax counties, the New River Valley, that's where I'm looking at 2 to 4 inches of snowfall, but we have had more moisture and more moderate bands of snow move through portions of our area closer to the Virginia-North Carolina line. That's where I have the potential for 4 to 7 inches of snow. So greater impacts further to the south. As you get closer to I-64, you'll be lucky if you even see a little bit of light snow in the area. But let's go ahead and get into our futurecast. So for today, we can even see that line on our futurecast when it comes to where we're seeing the snow and where we're not seeing the snow. As we get closer to Allegheny, Bath, Highland counties, even Rockbridge County, I'm not going to rule out the chance for a couple of light snow showers, but most of that snow stays further toward the south. Now, by your Saturday evening, we start to notice that snow kind of tapering off from west to east. Danville, South Boston, as we head towards Charlotte counties, you're probably going to be sticking around with that snow even as we head into late Saturday night. But New River Valley, as we get closer to midnight, that snow is probably wrapping up for your area. By Sunday morning, this is 6 a.m., looking good to go in a sense of we're not expecting any precipitation falling from the sky. Your Sunday and Monday, we're looking mostly dry with a good deal of sunshine in our forecast overall. But we have another set of issues that we have to deal with as we head into your Sunday. Namely, it's going to be those winds. Overnight tonight and into your Sunday, wind gusts anywhere from 30 to 40 miles per hour are expected. If we have any power outages as a result of this storm, it's actually going to be due to the winds, not the snow. And speaking of which, the National Weather Service has issued a wind advisory for Roanoke, Floyd, Carroll, and Grayson counties. This will go into effect for your Saturday evening and continue into Sunday afternoon, as this is where we have a greater chance for gusts up to 50 miles per hour possible, especially at those higher elevations. But the wind, it's also going to impact how it feels outside. As we take a quick look, our Sunday morning temperatures, they're going to be starting off anywhere from the single digits and into the teens, but those blustery winds will make it feel colder with wind chill values below 0 across our region, especially as we head west of the Blue Ridge. That's where we could be dealing with wind chill values as low as 25 below 0. Because of that, we do have an extreme cold warning for counties along and west of the Blue Ridge. That will go into effect later this Saturday, continuing into Sunday. Elsewhere, we have a cold weather advisory that will go into effect at the same time. Wind chill values not going to be as cold, but still it is going to feel pretty bitter outside, as wind chills will be as low as 5 below 0 in some spots. Definitely want to bundle up if you're heading out and about on Sunday. And I know the kiddos, they may want to play outside, for example, in this fluffy snow. It's definitely better to make snowmen and have snowball fights, but you need to make sure they have on the gloves, they have on the scarf, the warm hat, and of course that thicker coat, because they do not need those winds impacting your bodies. And with that, we are dealing with that chance for frostbite in these extremely cold conditions. Now let's talk about that cold though. While we are still going to be dealing with some Arctic air for your Saturday and Sunday, we are expecting a bit of a change in our trend as we head towards the beginning of the upcoming week. Your Saturday and Sunday, Highs will mainly be below the freezing mark, more so into those 20s. A few places may warm up into the lower 30s as we head into your Sunday afternoon. But that cold air that we're dealing with for this weekend, it starts to retreat toward the northeast. And while it is still going to feel very winter-like outside as we head into your Monday, it is a bit of an improvement when it comes to those temperatures. Taking a quick look at our 7-day forecast ahead, what we're expecting for much of our area is actually temperatures above freezing, ranging anywhere from the 30s and into the 40s starting on Monday and continuing throughout the work week. So that is going to be great news in a sense of that snow and ice that's still on the ground. Because we're warming up above freezing, more of that snow and ice will be able to melt. So that's good news right there. But as a reminder, the temperatures that we're looking at for next week, even though they're considerably warmer than what we're expecting for this weekend, they are still below average for this time of year. And I do believe that will continue to be the case even as we head towards the middle of February. So you are still going to need those thicker coats on hand even as we head later into the month, even though we're not necessarily going to be dealing with those highs in the teens and 20s for much longer. Now, another thing I want to point out with our 7-day forecast, we have the snow for today. Sunday looking dry, same can be said for Monday. Wednesday, we do have a bit of uncertainty in our forecast. What we're going to be tracking is a storm system as it approaches our area, and it may give us the chance for showers. Now, depending on the timing of that system, there is the chance that we may see a bit of wintry mix, especially earlier in the day on Wednesday. So we're keeping our eyes out for that. Too early to talk about exact details, but just know that that is something that we're going to be keeping our eyes out for as we head towards the middle of the upcoming week. But with all this talk of snow and wintry weather, one thing that we would love to see is actually your photos and videos of the wintry weather that you're seeing for today. Even if you have to take those pictures tomorrow, snow's still going to be sticking around, especially with how cold it is going to be outside. Now, if you want to send us your photos, what you have to do, go to WFXRTV.com, or you can even go on the WFXR News app on your phone. We have a Report It tab on the website. If you're going online, you can see that Report It tab. It's going to be on the right-hand part of your screen near the top. In the app, you just have to pull out those tabs and you'll see Report It on there. What it will do, it will take you to a screen where it will ask you to upload your photos and videos. You can do that. Give us your name. It's basically permission for us to use them on air and online. So if you send those our way, there's a chance you could see them on WFXR News first at 10 later tonight, and you may even see them here on our streaming site as well. Now, with that being said, we would love to see those photos, so go ahead, send them in, and just make sure you're being safe if you are planning on taking those photos. If you're heading out, just make sure you're watching your step. It may be a bit slippery outside, and of course, when hitting those roadways, just make sure to take your time. It may be slick in some spots. Good news is when it comes to those roadways, because this is a powdery snow, those snowplows are getting all of that snow up, and it's really, really great to see, especially because we had some of those icy conditions earlier in the week. Still want to use caution outside, though, and make sure that you are taking your time, giving yourself extra time to get to where you need to go safely. Well, we're going to continue to provide more updates when it comes to this wintry weather throughout the day. Once again, this is not a huge winter storm that we're dealing with, but it is still going to cause impacts to our region. So we do want to make sure that you're staying safe outside and making sure that you're having fun, staying warm as well. So we're going to have another update that will be at 1 p.m. and we will start to do some cut-ins on air as well. Of course, if you want more of those updates, you can find them on our website, WFXRTV.com. Stay warm and safe, everybody.